adjust this camera a little bit. Get this thing started. We'll see if we can get started on this Sunday morning here. Oh man. See what we can do. So we can get all these cameras adjusted and everything rocking and rolling. See if my stream's good. I'm about a minute early. Let's see what I can get going here. Up here at the shop. Yeah, I'm up here at the shop and trying to get started this Sunday morning. Again, very busy again today. I got a very busy Sunday. We got a follow-up meeting to our reunion committee. So we're having that down here at our house. And so I've got to get that prepared and get things rolling there. And, just general things to do on this Sunday morning. And let me see, I might, let's see, if I'm not going to be able to do that. Start to say I'd move my camera. Get my camera situated so I can see the computer a little bit better. Let's see if I can do it that way. Yeah, I can do it that way. And a way I can still see the chat and not interfere with the camera. Yeah, that'll work. That'll work. Now I can see my chat room good. Trying to get everything situated up here at the shop this Sunday morning and get everything rocking and rolling. Give me a swig of my Sprite and all that sort of stuff. Well, hey, Chris, how are you? Hey, Jerome, how are you? Yeah, I'm up here in the shop this morning. As you can see over my head there, there's my new plasma table that I've got. Really enjoy that and everything. Yeah, I'm noticing, Chris, that your little girl, she's really getting big now. I've been looking at the pictures of your little girl. She's getting on up there. You'll have a teenager before you snap your fingers. And that's what happens a lot of times. You don't realize how quick these children will grow up, and just like that, they'll be grown. So hold on to her as best you can, because she's going to grow up fast, that's for sure. And all that sort of stuff. Let me try to situate this. I'm trying to get everything functional and situated this morning. Trying to make it so it's convenient and everything, so I can read the text and so I can, be seen on the camera right and everything else. I'm up here at my shop again. I hope everybody can give me a thumbs up if the audio visual looks good and everything. It usually is pretty good up here, and I'm using the new setup with my new the camera off of my iPhone back to my Mac type situation. And I use that instead of the webcam that comes with the Mac, because it's such a better camera as far as a webcam than using the webcam on the laptop. So I'm trying to implement that, and I've really enjoyed using it the past few weeks. I uploaded the new software. I got the beta software so I could do that through Mac and everything, and it really works out really good. That's the new software that's coming out, I think at the end of this month. But I went ahead and got the beta version of it, the public beta version of it, and started using that. And it's really good. I really enjoy it. And it has a lot of new features and everything. I guess I just couldn't wait another month. So I went ahead and bit the bullet and got the public beta version, even though a lot of them say, well, don't get the beta version because it's not perfect. well, it may not be perfect, but it's pretty good. It's stable. And I'd read where it was good and stable. So I went ahead and downloaded it and started using that. And that's a good thing. But that's for us Mac guys. I mean, not a lot of people, most people are using Windows, and I used to use Windows almost exclusively, and then I switched over to Mac about, I don't know, 10 or 15 years ago. And I like Mac is so much more stable, and I don't have all the bugs and everything you get with Windows. Windows has so much garbage in it, and I've got a Windows computer back here, and I'm just not a Windows person. I don't. I mean, you got so many pop-up screens that come up and everything else, and I don't have that with a Mac. And the Mac software is just, once you convert, you don't want to go back. And I can do everything I want to do, if not more, with a Mac than I can with a Windows, and it really is good. You made your way back in, yeah. Yeah, I'm glad you made it back, Chris. I'm glad you made it back, and I'm glad glad to see you. You've been staying busy, I've noticed, with the little girl and the farm and everything else, and everything seems to be keeping you pretty busy. And you you're not putting as many videos out there as you used to, but I catch them when I can. I catch them when I can. She doesn't like doing. Oh well, that happens. But uh, we like a Mac. I mean, a Mac to me is just way more stable. I don't have the stability with a Windows program, but I have to use them. I mean, like this Plasma has only got a Windows program. It doesn't have a Mac program, so I have to use it. And so it is what it is. So you get you can get it like that. But the all the Intel Macs, you can actually run Windows on them if you have to, and you can do both. But now this new Mac that I've got, you can't run Windows on this one because it's got the new Mac chip, the what do they call it, silicon chip or whatever, Mac Silicon, and you can't use Windows on it. But the older Intel based Macs, which I have several of those, you can use Windows. You can put Windows on it if you wanted to, and you can make a good Windows machine. Yeah. Well, no, audio and video are great with Mac. Uh, no, I can convert audio and video. That's why I like Mac so good. I mean, the audio enthusiast people, most people that have recording studios and stuff like that, they have a Mac because of the stability and because of all the software that's built for a Mac. I mean, I got audio. I mean, like Adobe Audition, I use it through my Mac, and then I can use Final Cut Pro and a bunch of things that really uh, do a great job with audio and video. So I don't dislike it. Yeah, the hurricane Jerome hit our area lightly. It didn't hit it hard. I mean, I'm in the Carolinas, and if you saw all that, it went to a tropical storm and then upgraded back up to a hurricane. It hit Myrtle Beach pretty good, uh, which is not too far from here. Myrtle Beach, a lot of the people, a lot of our friends had places down at Ocean Lakes Campground, uh, and I heard that they got flooded pretty bad with about 3 or 4 feet of water in the campground down there. Not inches, but feet. I mean, the storm surge came in pretty tough for them, and I think there'll be a lot of insurance claims down there on those cabins and everything because they got inundated pretty good with the storm surge. I mean, it was high tide, and the storm surge too came in, and so it basically just took the ocean just lifted up and came up, you know, 3 or 4 feet higher than it usually is, and that's why I think it got so bad. Well, the audio does great to my iPhone. From my iPhone to my Mac, it's perfect. I mean, I do everything and don't have any problems. And then I can even do it over air. It's what they got a thing. It's not sort of like Bluetooth, but it's not. It's something that they've got built into the Macs, and you can just upload it, and it really is good. Hey, Aaron. Hey, Fleet Tech. How are you? Glad to see you in here this morning too. But now I have very little problems with uploading videos and editing them and everything else with the Mac. I would prefer it. I don't. Uh, I mean, the editing process with the Mac is really uh, not simple, but I mean it's simple enough that even this old guy can do it without any problems. And the audio, I can already do the audio with Adobe Audition. Yeah. Well, I've known computers for a long time. Um, I've messed with computers since they came out back in the 70s. So I I'm sort of a tech junkie for an old guy. And my son, he's a computer engineer and electrical engineer. And we've always that's sort of been a family hobby, you might say. And I've got plenty of computer things. I've got computer things with audio and video and just a plethora of things that uh, you know most people don't have. I mean, I'm really a tech junkie when it comes to that kind of stuff. Oh yeah, I was around, but I've been around since, well, my first implementation of a computer was going to a teletype room where you did a teletype and put it on a punch card. Then you sent it over to another mainframe in the central part of the state, and then the next day you would get your reply back. That's how far back I've gone with computers. Back in the late '60s, I mean they were archaic. You wouldn't even call them computers. They were a teletype machine, and but they went back to a central office and a central CPU and mainframe and probably every bit of that you could probably put on this iPhone that I'm using probably has 1,000 more times memory than what I was using back in the '60s to learn basic code and everything like that. So, I was doing that way back. And then as it evolved, I mean, I got the home computers as soon as they started coming online, and I got some TRS-80 Radio Shack computers for my children, and then built on up, and we started building towers, and my son and I we started doing that, and it's that's how I've evolved over the years. So yeah, I've got still to this day I've got roomfuls of old computers from way back when. Hey Jamie, back in Pensacola. Wow. Yeah, yeah. Well, how is it in Pensacola? How is it tore up down there where you're at, or is everything pretty good shape, or decent enough shape to get down there, I guess. But uh, boy, I know that Florida got hit hard, right from what Fort Myers straight across over to Orlando and on up the where Cape Canaveral is and everything, and all up through there. Pretty tough. Yeah, yeah. I got some of the old. I remember buying a calculator. Now, this is how far back I go. I used a slide rule in college. We couldn't afford calculators because just an eight digit calculator back in the 60s was costing somewhere of around $150, $200. And that's when $150 was a week's salary almost. So, uh, we're talking very, very expensive. In today's terms, that'd probably be close to $1,000. And that was with just a simple 8-digit calculator. So I learned on a slide rule. If anybody's ever seen the slide rule, that's what I learned uh, calculations with, the math calculations and everything in college when I was in college. That's how old I am, guys. I'm old. Hey, Walter. Yeah. Well, yeah, I don't work on computers much anymore. I used to. We used to build. We used to build several hundred a year, probably. And then when I had my internet business, we were connecting people up and everything else. Back in the 80s and the 90s, really, uh, there was there was the computers and the computer building was really flourishing then, and we were building. We would build up servers and everything for our our IT and our internet business, our ISP business. So we were really big into that when my son was in college, and when he right after he got out of college, and we started the internet business pretty hot and heavy. I mean, we started the internet business right at about the time my son graduated college, and he helped me. Uh, he was real instrumental in building my servers and saved me a ton of money for him doing that internally and not having to go out and hire some IT guy to do it. So we were able to save a lot of money doing that. And I feel very fortunate that I had a son that was that smart and that could help me with that, because that was in its infancy back in the mid 90s and everything. That I used to go around telling people about the internet, and they had no idea of what I was talking about with the internet. I mean, it was actually hard to sell people on the internet initially back around 94, 95. And you tell them about the World Wide Web, and that's what everybody, www, things that we don't even think of today, and we don't even talk about it today. We take so much for granted on the internet and YouTube and everything else like we got now. I mean, I remember when it was so critical to, when you started uploading pictures, you had to make sure and do an 8-bit picture instead of a 32-bit picture, because if you try to do an 8-bit, it would take up too much space. So you were really condensing and making, JPEGs were really, really small back then. And now you got everything large and I mean, to be able to do what we're doing today, what I'm doing right now, I couldn't even fathom doing this back in 95 or 2000. I mean, who would have thought that I could sit here and talk to everybody all over the world with a great 4K picture right here, and it's uploading at a speed that's really, really nice. And I'm sitting here in a garage. I mean, I'm not in some high tech place. I'm in a garage with nice Wi-Fi, and with a laptop computer and an iPhone, and those things. Just to think about how far we came and how far we have come uh, since the early days of the internet, it just blows your mind. Blows your mind. Yeah, yeah. Me and Al Gore, we invented it. Yeah, Al Gore, he takes credit for a lot of crap that he's never done. Al Gore he's gotten rich over lying a lot, uh, lying about his climate change that's not affecting the people like he wanted it to. Lying about, I mean, he got it. He's, oh, you don't want to even get me started on Al Gore. I mean, it's just ridiculous how many people were sucked into his method and his message. Yeah. Yeah, the late 1900s. Yeah, that's hard to imagine too, isn't it? And when you talk about doing stuff in 1994, you realize that's almost 30 years ago. I mean, here we are coming up on 2023 in just in a couple of months. And when I speak of 1994, to think that that was almost 30, close to 30, 28 years, 29 years ago. I mean, it just blows my mind that time has slipped away that quickly, but it has. I mean, uh, I, I'm grateful that I've seen everything that I've seen, and I'm grateful that, you know, I've been a part of a lot of things, uh, and got to see us evolve like we have. I mean, I'm just, it makes you very humble when you think about what you've done, or, you know, like from the time, we just had a class reunion just the other day, about 2 weeks ago. And, um, to think, to think that in those 50 something years since I graduated, what has taken place. I mean, we hadn't even walked on the moon when I graduated high school. You know, that was the year 1969. You know, we after I graduated, I think it was July. After I graduated in June, we walked on the moon. Uh, then we everything else we've done since then, it just been remarkable. And to think, and I was told by somebody in NASA, um, that the the iPhone that I have right in front of me is about 100 times more powerful than the computer system that they had in the Apollo spaceship that landed on the moon. This iPhone is about 100 times more powerful than that. I mean, that blows your mind right there. That the computations that it can do, uh, is so much more advanced than what we had in the Apollo spacecraft that took the men to the moon and back. And that's the thing that always blows my mind, is how we were able to get back. It's, I mean, you see the launch of the spaceship going up and getting it into orbit, but to take it from orbit back down blows my mind. I don't know how they were able to capture enough energy to do that, and how they, I mean, there's a lot of thought process there on what happened with the space program. Yeah. Yeah, I remember the old Y2K, Jamie. Uh, I had a I had a guy that, um, as I was building a lot of computers back then, he said, "Oh, I'll give you $1,000 extra if you can build me a computer that you can guarantee that'll work after Y2K." Because he was one of these type that thought everything was going to shut down. And I said, "No, it's not going to shut down." I said, "It's just a calendar thing." I said, "Just because all these pre-programmed chips, back then, what would happen, the chips that were manufactured back in the 70s and 80s and 90s, the program was written where it actually would stop in the year 2000, and people just didn't realize that. And then all it was a program, chip change. No, Chris, they went to the moon. I I'm not a moon denier. They went to the moon. I saw it happen, and it's very realistic. I'm not a moon denier at all, uh, and I think they'll return to the moon before long. Uh, I mean, uh, Buzz Aldrin and uh, who else was it now? It's Buzz Aldrin, and the one that was left back in the spaceship was Mike. Oh, what was his name? Uh, can't remember his name right now off the top of my head. But yeah, that yeah. Well, Chris, I'm not a denier of that. The moonshot was real, and I saw it firsthand with when it was going on. I know everything technology wise. I have no doubts in my mind on the moonshot, and I'm not people that deny it or don't like it or whatever or don't believe it. You're welcome to your opinion, but I've never been a denier of the moon landing and the moonshot and everything. It's just that way. Yeah, yeah. A lot of us might want to go to the moon, I guess. Well, I'm not ever going to make space travel. Don't really want to. I think there's a lot of things that we would like to get. I'd like to send a lot of people to the moon. I wouldn't want to go to the moon, but I can name several million people I'd like to send to the moon. I like for them to colonize it and stay the hell up there. If you want to know the truth, but no, I don't. Uh, I don't ever want to go to Mars or the moon or anything. I've I I was amazed. I actually went down to Huntsville, Alabama, where they tested the rocket and everything, and it was pretty amazing to have seen that rocket that they use, and the ones they're using now are twice as big, or not even more, even larger. I think the ones that Elon Musk and all of them are doing, and that are reusable and everything. I think it's, and then privatizing that, I think it's been great. Yeah, yeah. Mike Collins. That's the guy. Jamie. That's right, Jamie. Mike Collins is the guy that was left behind, and Buzz Aldrin, and uh, now here I am. I'm here. Here's where I'm showing my age. Um, oh gosh, who's the one that stepped on the moon first? Buzz Aldrin was still in the capsule, and oh, he just died just a couple years ago. Um, Buzz is the only one left out of those three. Buzz is in his 90s. Um, help me out, Jamie. Now, who was it? Was Mike Collins, Buzz Aldrin, and the guy that first stepped on the moon. Oh, who was he? Isn't that bad when you get this age and you just forget these things? Oh, you've been to Huntsville, Alabama? Huntsville, did you go over to the space camp and everything well, I actually went out into where they were training the astronauts. Neil Armstrong. Yeah, there we go. Gosh, hey, Neil Armstrong. I just I had a Joe Biden event, I guess. My brain wasn't functioning. Yeah, Neil Armstrong. Yep. Yeah, that's and it um yeah. Well, I actually got to go out, NASA actually has a working, or used to have a working model. I mean, not a working model, a working uh, control center over there. So when they when they lifted off at Cape Canaveral and they got so far, then they switched off the controls and everything over to Huntsville, because Huntsville's where they built the very first rocket. I mean, that's where the rocket that propelled them to the moon I mean, they've got a model of it, a test model of it, laying on its side, and gosh, it looks like it's half a football field length, and it's huge. And what was that? Was it a Saturn rocket? I believe it was called a Saturn rocket, and that's what the capsule set on, the Apollo capsule set on. And to see those Apollo capsules, and to think that these guys stayed in those things, I mean, I would get claustrophobic as heck being in there with two other guys in something that small. I mean, if anybody's ever been to Cape Canaveral or whatever and seen an Apollo, especially the Mercury. I mean, I saw the Mercury rockets, to see that John Glenn and Alan Shepard went up in those little Mercury capsules. Oh man, that looks like something we built here in the shop. I mean, those things were just tiny and didn't look like it was constructed out of that much material. I mean, how in the world that those guys, you talking about being brave and having a pair, boy, they had to have a pair to risk their life to get into something like that, and to be shot up in a rocket and then brought back down with a parachute and everything. I mean, John Glenn and Alan Shepard, I have to, I mean, those were really some brave guys to experiment with that small of a rocket and everything. I mean, it spooks me to think about how small the technology was, and how easily these guys risked their life with that. I mean, it was something. Yeah, I don't want to be in a submarine either. And I tell you, I went down to Savannah, and I saw the what's y'all gonna have to help me with this one too. Was it the Monitor? I believe it's called the Monitor. There was a submarine that they had back in the Civil War times, and those guys had to crawl in that thing, and of course they died in it too. Those guys got killed in it, or I don't know what all happened to it, but to have done that and try to go in the ocean was creepy. I couldn't do that. Yeah. Yeah, the Wright brother. Well, now, and see, I like doing that. Being here in North Carolina, of course, I've gone out to see Wright Brothers Memorial before, and that's amazing too, to think that they did what they did, and out there on the sand dunes, and at Kitty Hawk and everything. I mean, it's to do that, and to think that in 1903, we went from that in 1903 to where we are today, 120 years later, of everything we've got. I mean, it's amazing that technology has progressed that much in 120 years to go from, I mean, when you think about the turn of the century, I mean, we were just getting started with, the Model T and the Industrial Revolution and everything, and how everything was built up. It just amazes you. And, we had no roads, no infrastructure. I mean, you had pig paths to, horse-drawn buggy paths to get anywhere. I mean, I remember my father-in-law talking about in the 20s, I believe it was in the 20s. He went to see, him and a friend of his went to see Notre Dame, no Army Navy game. That's what it was. It was the Army Navy game. He went to see the Army Navy game in football, and they drove from North Carolina up to Annapolis, I think it was, and it took them 2 or 3 days to get up there. And you think about it, no standardized roads back in the 20s and 30s, and you were going through all these different neighborhoods, and whoever had the best road. I mean, and the roads were dirt roads in most places. Uh, it's amazing to think about how much we've evolved in just a short period of time. When you think that we're you know everything that we've done. I mean, and then when you think back about, like I said, even with this past event with the hurricane and everything, to think how much we've progressed to be able to forecast things. Uh, I mean, I was watching everything on my laptop and watching, I have the radar apps on my iPad, and I was watching that and the weather channel. I mean, we got a 24-hour a day weather channel. Well, two of them actually. You got two of them on uh, the the satellite on the dish. Now I got Dish, um, which I'm mad at now because they dropped ESPN, or ESPN dropped them. But I've got that, and to be able to see all that, and satellite itself, to know that we've got satellite technology to watch 150, 200 channels, and uh, it's amazing how much information that we've got, how much technology has improved. I mean, I blows your mind, blows your mind. Hey, Aloysius. Yeah, yeah. We actually had a mule drawn grader. I wish I'd kept it. We upgraded some of our farm equipment. My father-in-law, he had it while he was alive, and we kept it. My mother-in-law didn't want all the farm equipment, so I sold off and got a newer tractor for her so she could drive it, and some other farm equipment. But I wish I had kept that old grader. I mean, it would come in handy today if I still had it. But and it was pretty neat. It had the two huge wheels and the big, gosh, about a 10 or 12 foot blade, and then you could pull it behind a tractor too. But it was originally designed for horse drawn. Yeah, well, we have gotten a lot of things that are easier, Chris. I mean, uh, like I said, the convenience that I've got, even right now, this morning, like I said, I'm setting up here in my shop that's got Wi-Fi. I got a good Wi-Fi that's connected to the cable, and that gives me a good signal that goes out through the entire world. I mean, I'm available. Anybody in the world right now, not just the United States, but anybody in the world can sign on and chat with me live. I mean, to me, that is such a that it just blows your mind that we're able to do that. I mean, I can scratch my nose and y'all see it. I probably not shouldn't blow my nose, should I? Yeah, yeah, I like watching Jim. Well, the old saying is, if Jim Cantora, if you look around, you're going to have a bad time weather-wise if you look around and you see Jim Cantori, and he's sort of funny. Jamie, you'd probably like him. He's short. Jim Cantori, now he's stout. He's muscled up and everything, but Jim Cantori's probably not but about 5'5". I mean, I met him down at Charlotte Motor Speedway one year, and it just blew me away. And that was when the Weather Channel was just getting started. But I met him and talked to him and everything. I tell you how far back it was. He had hair. That's how long ago it was that Jim Cantori actually had hair. But yeah, he's a good weatherman. I like Jim Cantori. He's probably been with the Weather Channel longer than anybody that I know. I mean, he's probably the number one guy there, seniority wise, and he's probably close to retirement age. Of course, he's probably got a good gig too. I don't know how much he gets paid and everything, but I would imagine it's a pretty good gig, and he gets to travel all over the United States and do his thing. And so I don't know. I haven't ever checked his background, but of course, as many places as he goes, he could have a girlfriend in every town, couldn't he? or a wife in every town, and he may, you don't know. Yeah, I'm trying to catch up with I'm trying to catch up with my text there, guys. Yeah. Well, you know, uh, looking at Chris's comment, we're 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 almost all. I mean, it amazes me. We're getting back to the internet thing. It amazes me how much we went from not even knowing about the internet as a society to being dependent on the internet. And we are totally dependent on the internet right now. I mean, most of us shop by the internet. I mean, there's probably none of us out there that don't use Amazon or haven't used Amazon. I would venture to say that every single person that's online right now has used Amazon. And my wife and I, we use like Sam's Club. We've been a member of Sam's Club for years, but we quit going to Sam's Club because we can order it online and they deliver it to us for free. So we don't see the incentive to go there. Yeah, and that's what happens, Chris. I mean, uh, we we're we're all guilty of that nowadays. I think, which I was a recipient of that because of being a contractor with FedEx and everything. I was a direct recipient of being able to benefit from online shopping because that filled up the trucks and trailers, and we kept moving down the road more and more, and business kept increasing, which was a good thing when I was in the trucking business. Uh, Now that I'm out of it and everything, I see it from a different perspective. But when I was in it, I mean, I could see a huge influx of all this online shopping and everything. And I saw it all through the years. I mean, I was there 34 years, way before there's online shopping. And I saw what it was initially through transportation. And then when online shopping hit and everything, I saw the huge influx of freight being, moved that way. Yeah. Yeah. FedEx is a lot of people saying on that stuff. Now, Chris, did you get the 1 inch Milwaukee with the, what was, what, 6 inch shaft and everything? The extension on it, just like a regular impact wrench, like the regular tire. I've seen that. And boy, it looks powerful because I think it's what, 1,800 foot pounds or something like that, 1,800 to 2,000 foot pounds of torque on a with an 18-volt battery, which just blows your mind. Yeah, that's one that if I was still in the trucking business, I'd definitely have one of those. I don't have a need for it not being in the trucking business anymore, but I'm almost tempted to get one anyway because we have the air impacts, 2,000 foot pounds. Yeah, isn't that amazing? That's amazing that you can get that much with uh, a battery operated impact. I mean, I remember when the first battery wrenches came out and they were, if you got the least little bit of torque that you needed, it just quit. Oh yeah, it's a risk breaker for sure. Yeah, you better hold on tight, and because if you don't, I mean, or if you got it too tight, you could break your wrist. Yeah, yeah. I'm just like I said, in a way, I almost would like to have one, but there's really not a need for one. So I probably shouldn't. I probably shouldn't try to convince Barbara that I need it. She would probably be upset. I think, what is it? It's about $1,500, 14 or $1,500 from what I've seen. I I don't know exactly. But it would definitely be a nice tool. Yeah. I start at 9 o'clock every Sunday morning, Taylor. That's when I try to. I try to start. I started about a minute early today, but I usually start right at 9 o'clock. That's Eastern Standard Time. I don't know where you're at, but 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time's when I do my Sunday morning chat. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. My live stream. That's when I do that. I mean, that's what we're on right now. Yeah, I do that 9 o'clock Sunday morning. Have been for the last, I guess, 3 or 4 years. I've been doing this for on a live stream every Sunday morning at 9 o'clock. Oh, you're in the Central Time, are you? Well, that'd be 8 o'clock for you. You just had to set your alarm to get up a little bit earlier for me on that. I mean, I find that that's a pretty good time. I mean, like Chris is in that we're chatting with. Chris Outcast is Chris. Um, he's in Central Time, I think. You use a 1-inch impact every once in a while. Yeah, yeah. I've got the Air 1-inch here in the shop, but I would really like to probably have a a battery impact. It would be nice. Yeah, that's right. Just get you some coffee and your breakfast, and get your breakfast waffles and your or pancakes and syrup and your eggs and or bacon and whatever your choice is. I usually have eggs and waffles. My wife fixes me eggs, and then I've got an unsweetened uh, syrup that I use. I guess it's got Splenda in it, but it's really good since I'm diabetic. Yeah, it's always on Sunday. My live stream is always on Sunday. Yeah, that's I've always done it Sunday morning. Uh, I guess I'm a Sunday morning preacher of some description. I've been preaching these kind of things. Uh, I don't want to disparage my nephews and my brother-in-law. I got a brother-in-law that's actually where he's retired now. He was a Lutheran minister. I always kidded him about he only had to work 1 day a week. So that's me. I just only have to work 1 day a week on my live stream here. But the rest of the time, I stay pretty busy. I sometimes, I put up individual videos sometimes. A lot of them I've done a lot with about FedEx since I'm a former contractor at FedEx. Yeah. Well, I hope I'm interested in some things. Like I said, today we've been everywhere from the moon and back, and we've talked about the internet, and we've talked about the hurricane and things like that. I just let the topic go where the topic goes, and I don't try to control it completely all the time. I mean, if I see if it's flowing one direction, I'll go that direction. And we get semi-political. Uh, I mean, I say semi. I don't try to make 100% political, although we're all political out there. I mean, we all have to worry about what's going on in the world. I mean, we had to worry about the inflation and the wars that we continually keep our countries in, and things like that. I mean, it's a crying shame that I'm the age that I'm at, and I have lived through wars almost since I was a teenager. I mean, really, I guess even before that. I mean, I was born during the Korean War conflict, and by the time that was over, the Vietnam. Uh, by the time I was a young boy, Vietnam was already went from an occupation to a war, and it occupied my mind, our minds, and everything during my teen years and on into my early adult years. And then after that, uh, you know, we've had a couple of these other conflicts, the Nicaraguan conflict, and just a few other things in Central America. And then next thing you know, we're in Iraq, and then we've been there forever, and we finally get out of Afghanistan, and we no more get out of that than we're now into supporting a war in Ukraine. I mean, the military industrial complex is a whole other thing that we've got to prepare ourselves for. We are involved with that, whether we like it or not. And I was actually watching an old program about the startup of the military industrial complex right before World War II, and how we got into that. And since we got into it, the military industrial complex doesn't want to go unemployed. So they like to keep things stirred up. Yeah, yeah, I guess. Yeah, I'm Jones Property Maintenance without the money that Andrew's getting. I probably should film myself like Andrew does. Andrew films a little bit of everything, and he has really done well for himself. I had to commend that young boy, and he's reinvested evidently every penny he's gotten into getting more and more equipment. And with his base of his base of people that he has, he's doing real well for himself. And it's sort of crazy. He doesn't talk too much on it, whereas I'm more of a talker. Andrew's not a talker. He talks a little bit, but he does a lot of stuff, and he'll say a few words. But all in all, you see him doing things, and that seems to be his appeal. And a lot of people like to see what Andrew's doing. I watch Andrew. Pretty interesting show. No, I agree with you there, Chris. Yeah, I can't buy too many tools. I did tell my grandson that I want to, when I'm gone, I want him to inherit all my tools. And I said, but under one condition, I don't want you to sell them. I want you to use them, because I have a wealth of knowledge sitting right there in those tools. And if he were to learn to use the tools that I have, he would be a very intelligent and very able-bodied person if he learns to use the tools that I have. I mean, I basically bought this plasma back here because of his knowledge of this, and I want to see him increase things, and it helped me too in the process. But I actually bought this in hopes that he would take more interest, and he has. He's good with it. It just comes second nature to him. And I wish I'm trying to get him to teach me some things on the plasma, because he's really good with the programming and everything. He uses the 3D CAD programs and everything that's really good. Called the auctioneer, yeah. Well, that's probably true, and that's probably what my wife will probably do a lot of. She'll probably want to get rid of a lot of things, but I've told her that I want my grandson to get a majority of the tools that I have. Of course, now Barbara has gotten to the point she likes a lot of stuff too. Now she doesn't want to get rid of our skid steers and toolcat and stuff like. She sees the worth of some of these tools that we've got. I mean, she uses them too, or has me to use them, and she sees the benefit of having them. Well, you never know, Chris, and that's just your first. You may have more than one child. I mean, you don't stop at just one. You and Casey need to fill the house up. Get you two or three, at least two. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. A skid steer is the handiest piece of equipment I think that's been designed. Because I mean, like mine's a 300, a Bobcat 300, T300. It's got about 90 horsepower, I believe, 80 or 90 horsepower. And mine, fortunately, is the one without DEF and everything and all that stuff that they're having now. And it's got plenty of power. It's got as much power as a small bulldozer. And I use the heck out of it like that. Yeah. Yeah, you need to enhance the home front there and have another one. Get you another kid. You're still young. I mean, I fortunately for me, I guess it was fortunate and unfortunate. Barbara and I got married young, and we had our children while I was still young. I mean, it was a struggle. That's the unfortunate part, but it was a benefit because of the fact that my children grew up, and I still was fairly young when my children were grown, and we were able to do a lot of things, my son and I, and we still do. And I'm very, very happy that he and I have been able to do as much as we have done. And now I've got my grandson he's practically grown. He's a senior in high school. He thinks he's grown. And, I hope I can make a few more years and we can work together. I'd like to see him get out of college and get married and everything and all that sort of stuff. I like to be around when that happens, and hopefully, help him get started in life and everything. I mean, that's what you want. I mean, I couldn't wait to help my son when he first got out of college, and he got a house and everything before we built his house before he got married. I mean, he actually wasn't even dating his wife. He was just he was out planning his life and everything. I remember when we were painting the inside of his house, I said, paint all the walls white. He said, white. He said, why? I said, because I guarantee, I don't care what color room that you paint, I said, your wife will want to change it. And I said, I think you'll be good by putting down hardwood floors. So we put hardwood floors all through his house. I said, because most women like hardwood floors. And so we put hardwood floors and painted all the walls white. I mean, everywhere white. And then sure enough, I mean, when he got married, his wife, she wanted things changed to her liking, to her colors, to what she wanted for curtains and everything. And my son came out way ahead by not investing in the wrong things there. Yeah, Chris, you know that. I mean, that little girl is she's taken over your heart, and you know it. That's the way children will do. I mean, children will capture your heart, and you'll do anything and everything for them. I mean, I know that, and when you get my age and you start having grandchildren, those grandchildren will just gosh, you think, why didn't I have them first almost? I hate to say that in front of my son. I love my son, but my grandson, I love him a bunch too. I mean, there's nothing, there's something very, very special about a grandchild. I mean, you'll find that out someday. Remember that. Oh yeah, yeah, you'll definitely do it. Well, that's Taylor. I mean, that I would, I think a house build you can get away with. Now you may end up having to build a second house. Uh, Fortunately for my son, now he got a house that his wife likes, and she just redesigned the inside of it basically, and that's I mean he's got a nice house, and but we kept it plain on the interior part of it. Let her handle that. Yeah. Well, and that's true. I mean, you could a man will never satisfy a woman's total desire. And not to say that we haven't remodeled a lot of things in my son's house. We remodeled his kitchen, and we remodeled a pantry and a bedroom, and recently, just this past year, uh, uh, my wife and I we helped them remodel their bathrooms. Uh, that was a Christmas gift from us. Uh, we had a guy up doing ours, and we had him to go ahead and do theirs at the same time. So those things do happen. Well, I don't want to live in a cardboard box that bad, Jamie, but uh, I guess there's a lot of people that can do that, and there's a lot of people that stay on the road. I know you as a contractor and everything stay on the road a lot. You probably have seen more hotel rooms than I ever have. Yeah, well, interest rates, I'm afraid, are going to be high for a while, and yeah, it would have been good to have bought and built while interest rates were low. I mean, yeah, the if we were all wizards and could predict these things, we would have done some things. I mean, I luckily I did some things that I sold my condo at the optimum, uh, right at the peak, uh, and everything. I sold it last May when prices were still zooming high, and now they're starting to come back down somewhat, and interest rates going up, and housing prices are coming down, and house starts and everything are going down. So those are some of the things that we're going to be involved with. I mean, you it's hard to. I mean, things are cyclical; they'll go up and down. Uh, Interest rates got lower than I had ever seen them uh, in my lifetime, in the you know in the last 6 or 7 years, and now they're creeping back up. But I never would have thought. I mean, I remember my mother and dad buying uh, a house back in the '60s, about 1960. They built their house in about 1960, 61, and interest rates then were 4%. And my dad was fussing because he could almost got it at 3%, but he didn't get closed in time, and he ended up with a 4% loan. I remember him fussing about that. But that was in 1960, and loans stayed like around there, 4 to 6% for through the '60s mainly. They didn't get much higher than that, and then inflation kicked in after uh, we all had all the gas problems and the oil embargoes and everything of the '70s. And Jimmy Carter, and when Jimmy Carter was in, inflation kicked in, sort of like Joe Biden, and we got interest rates got all the way up to 20%. House loan interest rates, 20%. I mean, can you imagine trying to pay off a house with a 20% loan? but that's what they got up to. Fortunately, I didn't get involved with any of that. I built in the 70s. I mean, interest rates when I built initially, before I did my remodel, I think were at around 7%. I mean, they were higher than they are now when I built back in the 70s. So don't think that they're extraordinarily high. They have been higher. So 7 and 8% is. I mean, I saw them. I remember when they got up to 10%. I was glad that I had like a 7% loan. So you're always going to be fighting that sort of situation. And unfortunately, with our inflation, that's what we're going to be fighting again. I mean, I saw this same inflationary period like this back in the late 70s. Like I said, during Jimmy Carter's time, and until Ronald Reagan got in, we didn't see it cap off and start coming back down some. But yeah, you're going to be fighting things like that forever. I mean, I don't know how we were in extraordinary times when we saw the interest get down to zero, when banks could borrow money almost at 0%. I mean, that was amazing. I mean, I never thought I would see it that low, and it never had gone that low before in my lifetime. And then like I said, then it started creeping up, and now it's probably going to go higher. I would venture to say that you're going to see 7 and 8% loans as a normal on the house before long. Yeah, auto loans. I mean, we've seen auto loans creep up pretty good too, and there and between the supply chain problems we've got and everything else, I don't know what we're going to do in auto loans, and then just the darn cost of cars now. I mean, the average car has just gone outrageous. Uh, and then I've got my name in the, which I'm about ready to quit on. I have my name in the pot for one of those new Ford F-150 electric trucks, and here they have since I initially put my name in the pot, they've already jumped $7,000 or $8,000, and they've increased the price of those. And I don't know if I'm going to want to even get that. I keep reading the reports about it, so I don't know. And I don't know if I want to obligate myself at my age for a truck that's going to be costing me $80,000, 80 or 90. I just don't know if I want that. Hey, Joey, I didn't see you in here. Yeah. Yeah, I saw Biden's gaffe. Yeah, yeah. He's wondering why that dead lady can't stand up. Where's she at? Well, I don't know, 6 foot under. We buried her last month. Yep. Yeah, I saw, I believe it was, but I saw one of them towing an aluminum trailer, and he had a Model A on one, and then he had he was going to try to get a bigger truck on there, and his trailer wasn't large enough. But yeah, I saw him. I think he towed a Model A. But yeah, it just sucked. It sucked the the crap out of it. I think it was what was it, 6 or 7 thousand pounds capacity, and he had the smaller truck. He had the one with the 220-mile range, and I think it killed it down to about 120 miles is all it would get for towing something. Yeah. Yeah, there's a couple of channels that kind of do the electric truck stuff. And you know, if you're looking at it to get out and tow some stuff, I mean, like this last week, I towed a bunch of things back from Greenville, South Carolina, which is about 90 miles away. And if I were to tow that back, I mean, I could barely get, I'd probably have to stop and charge at least one time on the way. I'd have to charge on the way down and or on the way back. It wouldn't be worth my time, and it would be inconvenient. I mean, considering you just fill up with diesel and you go down, you got enough torque. Now it takes a good bit. I've got my gooseneck on my dually, my Dodge dually, and it's got the Cummins diesel in it, and it gets about probably 10 miles to the gallon when I'm towing my T300. I had the T300 with a couple of implements on it. I would imagine I was towing probably close to 12,000 pounds, and my dually, my gooseneck has it's tandem axle, tandem wheels. So I got 8 wheels back there too. So that's a lot more to tow than an electric one would tow. Yeah, yeah. I'm just now. I like my electric lawnmowers. I'm gonna have to do a review on it. I've got the new iDrive electric Ryobi, and I've got 3 electric lawnmowers. I've got a 42, a 54, the old style that's got the lead acid batteries, and then I've got the new one that's got the lithium batteries in them. And I really like that. I mean, the battery setup is perfect as far as I'm concerned with the new Ryobi lawnmowers. I mean, I got the iDrive and I like it okay. I wish they had one without the iDrive and they just had the regular zero turn. But that being said, I'm having problems with my zero turn with the 2 sticks, the 54-inch. I think I got a board going bad in it, and I've got to take it down and get it fixed this next week. Yeah, I should. That's one of the things I drove this past week. It's a 3-liter. I got a 2018 3-liter 6-cylinder diesel, and it's a great truck. And I'm really apprehensive about. I was thinking about selling it and getting rid of it and getting the electric, but now, as I think more and more about it, I may just drop the fact of the electric because at my age, I don't think I'll ever. I don't know if I want to go through the experimental part with that. I mean, it'd be cool in a way that you don't ever have to fill it up, but in another way, the cost that they're wanting for it initially, I don't know if I could ever recoup that. I mean, you can buy a lot of fuel for $80,000. Although if we got Joe Biden continually letting the fuel get out of hand, it won't be much. Yeah, well, I really regret the fact that so many of the car makers are saying that they're going totally electric because where would we be with this hurricane if everything in the state of Florida was electric right now? I mean, you would have pandemonium, people trying to get out of Florida and running out of electricity. And then when the system gets disrupted and you can't charge anywhere, you think gas lines would be bad. Just multiply all that times. Just multiply that times how many cars there are on the road. Fleeing Florida, trying to get out of Florida, and they're all electric. Well, they would overwhelm the electric system the way. I mean, you think about it. We've got gas stations every 5 miles, probably, all through the United States. I mean, you might get out in the Midwest, you won't have them that tight. But coming up and down the East Coast, I mean, you can go 5 miles and get a gas station. There's no way in the world that we could get that many electric charging stations. And if we had them, how long would they be operable? I mean, if a storm comes through, what's the first thing that goes out? Is the electric grid system. I mean, how many people are out of power right now? How many diesel powered trucks are headed to Florida right now to go fix the electric grid? I mean, think about it. The electric grid depends on Duke Power and all the other Duke Power up here where I'm at, but all the other energy people going to these places to help rebuild the grid system and put it back online. I mean, if we had everybody in electric vehicles, and we're already speaking of these electric vehicles, a large electric vehicle like a utility truck, I've seen one of those that was demonstrated. It got 110 miles, is as far as it could go. It was 110 miles with a big battery pack because it's a big truck. Now, can you imagine having to refuel every 110 miles and you're headed from here to Florida? Well, it would take you forever to get there. I mean, every 110, if these guys had to stop their trucks every 110 miles to recharge, and then it takes, I don't know how long it takes a good little while to recharge it and then go on down the line. I mean, we have got to migrate this new technology at a steady pace, not a all of a sudden pace. I mean, to build it's fine, but to build it and tear down the other systems and say, no, we're no longer going to build gas cars or diesel trucks, I think is a bad idea. I mean, I just can't imagine being completely shed of all those kind of vehicles. I mean, we're going to be hurting if that's what we depend on. Yeah. Well, I hate it if Dodge if that's the last year they're going to make diesel. I mean, I think that's a bad mistake. I really, really do. I mean, they've been such a powerhouse and stuff like that. I mean, Cummins diesel and Dodges were a great thing. I mean, actually, it was overbuilt. I always wished that the Cummins had gone to Ford because I like the Ford truck better. But and somewhere along the line that didn't get connected. But my Cummins diesel in my Dodge truck is a great little truck. I love it. Well, I think that, I mean, there's a time and a place for this stuff. I mean, I think they've got some of these electric vans out there, like a Amazon van and some of these others. For some of those that are only going to run 175 miles a day or 200 miles a day, that's fine. Do it like that, and do it sensibly, and have your own solar farm at the same time. I mean, if you got a fleet of trucks and you got it right, you get you a solar farm and charge your vehicles overnight. That's the way to do it, and then you've got free power at that point. Yeah. Oh, it's just a 1,500. Well, yeah, I've got a 30. Mine's a 3,500. Yeah, I've got the 3,500 Cummins. I mean, 3,500 Dodge, and it's got the Cummins. It's a dually. So that's a good size. That's a great size vehicle. Now, if they want to do away with them in the 1,500s, I don't have any problem that much. But I'd hate to see them do away with everything like that. And I feel like there's too much demand for the other. Yeah, well, I mean, that's the problem. Lead acid doesn't do right. And that's why, lithium is going to have to be, lithium is the one that you can pull it all the way down, Chris, and not have the problems that you got with lead acid. Lead acid just, once you get below 50% charge on lead acid, it starts deteriorating quickly. I mean, I know that from owning an Apple store and how many batteries I used to have to redo. And it wasn't because they didn't build the best battery, it's because people would just drain them down. And, once you start draining a lead acid battery below 50%, you're going to kill its uh, lifetime capacity. And that's what I've got with my perfect example with my little Ryobi uh, lawnmowers and everything. I mean, I got lead acid in two of them, and then I've got the lithium in the one, and the one with the lithium is a way better uh, than the lead acid, and it's tough. It's tough. Well, good gracious, I have talked myself to death here today, haven't I? I didn't realize I had been talking so long. Oh, I had a Volkswagen TDI too, Taylor. I had several of them. I had four of them, as a matter of fact, as company cars, and they were fantastic. We were running one back and forth to Savannah, Georgia, and we were getting, it was not the Jetta. What was it? Was it the Jetta? It may have been a Jetta. I can't remember. But anyway, we were getting like 55 to 60 miles per gallon. I mean, six, I mean, it was unreal. Of course, it was the ones that they changed the computer. They was putting out too much emission, but they didn't smoke or anything. I never did. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think they got. I hate they got hung out to dry on that, because boy, those little cars were fantastic. I mean, I would love to have that little TDI diesel in something else. I'd love to have it in my coupe over here or whatever. I mean, that thing would fly too. I mean, it was fast as a rocket. I had one in a little Volkswagen Bug, and boy, that thing was it was a little hot rod. Loved it. I mean, you take off and it'd scream, and then still turn around and get 50 miles to the gallon. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's amazing, how good those things were. I mean, yeah, you'd fill it up, and it had a capacity range of how far it would go, but you'd fill it up, and it wasn't but like a 10-gallon tank, and it would say 700 miles to empty. And I go, 700 miles, Lord have mercy. I mean, you go across the United States and back and wouldn't take, but a couple of fill ups of that thing. I mean, it was amazing. I mean, those little Volkswagens were something else. But we did. I had a driver that I had assigned when I first opened up in Savannah, and I put him in a company car and sent him down there, and he would drive to Savannah and back, and he said it would get almost 50 something miles of the gallon. 55 miles to the gallon by cruising on down the road down to Savannah. I mean, and he wasn't driving it slow either. He was running 70, 75 miles an hour. I mean, he was keeping it in the wind, and it was just amazing how good a fuel mileage it got. Yeah. Yeah. I had one of those I had one of those. I sort of used it as a service truck for a while. I believe it was a Jetta. That's what it was. It was a Jetta TDI wagon, and it was a great little car, and it was neat. Then um, I had the one that was a little bit fancier, a little bit nicer. I can't remember what it was called, but it was a little bit nicer than the Jetta. But anyway, but Volkswagen bought all of those back from me, and I came out like a champ. So I can't complain. I kept them for 3 or 4 years, or 2 or 3 years. I forgot what it was, and then they had that brouhaha about it, and they had to buy them back, and they bought all of mine back. So I got them paid off, and they wrote me a check. I think I about $40,000 or $50,000 from Volkswagen, and I was happy with that, to get a check for about 40 or 50,000, and then get the cars paid off. And I mean, I came out smelling like a rose, so I really enjoyed that. But that's been 5 or 6 years ago. I can't remember when it was. Oh yeah, that's what they did with mine. I mean, they paid me back. Like I said, I still owed on. I mean, I still owed a couple of years on some of them, and we'd already put 30,000, 40,000 miles. Well, that one, I think we had close to 60,000, and because I had one guy driving every day back and forth from Concord, and it was he was racking up the miles, and we were. I was very well pleased with that, to be able to sell all those and sell them back to the Volkswagen, have them purchase them, pay them off, give me a nice chunk of change. First time I'd been able to get a chunk of change back from a car dealership in my life. Hey, Patrick. I'm doing pretty good. I about didn't think you were going to make it in here, but I've been on here about an hour and a half, so I've been talking longer than usual. I don't know if it's just one of those days. Yep. You had to do some stuff. Well, that's fine. Yeah, I've just been sitting here running my mouth on everything. Probably now that I see the time, I know I got a lot of things I got to do. Probably gonna have to end this chat because I've been at it an hour and a half. Yeah, well, I appreciate it, guys. I've been chatting away, everything from the moonshot hurricane and everything else. But I'm gonna go ahead and get off of here, because if not, I'll end up talking all day, and I've got too many things to do. Yep, that's for sure, Patrick. Well, I'm gonna end it and see everybody out there, and I'll talk to y'all later. Thank you, Taylor. I'll talk to you later too. See ya.